Welcome to the RCView.dispatch Responder Portal User Testing Overview. My name is Luke Beckman. I'll be coordinating the user testing sessions along with a fantastic team of folks here at headquarters and around the country. And the purpose of this overview and orientation is to tell you about what we'll be doing over the next 2 days, who will be doing things, how we will be doing those things, and what the next steps are and what we're trying to get out of it. So the agenda for our user testing is we have some pre-work and then we have a Thursday session and a Friday session. So the pre-work really is first to watch this video orientation, and second you'll be setting up your phone. In the back end, in the background, we'll be working to set up your user account and passwords and all that. But you should be in contact with Alex Rose, and I know most of you have been. But this is going to get, whether you have an iPhone, an Android, or a tablet, this will get you set up to work successfully in the system so that come Thursday or Friday, you will not be, and we will not be scrambling trying to just get everybody set up. The Thursday session is a very small team. We're doing what we call a two-person test to focus on some very targeted requirements that we have to check off. And that'll be happening in Fairfax at the dock. And we'll be doing some post-testing, what we call checkpoints, but really focusing on sort of what do we learn, were there any issues, how did the user interface look, things like that. And we'll do a similar thing on Friday with most of you. The Friday session will be, I think we have 9 or 10 people who are signed up, who will have one or multiple roles throughout the course of the day. We'll be executing a very specific set of scenarios, which you will receive for testing to follow along. The way these scenarios are built, let me show you that here. If I can pull this up. The scenarios are going to look something like this. Here are the test scripts. And let me scroll over here. So we're going to have a number of events. You're all going to be part of a DAT response area or territory. And you'll have certain roles. And we'll be asking you to do very specific things. And everybody will have a role: responder 1, responder 2, responder 8, responder 9. Here's the 8-person test. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to number every one of these so that if you get lost in the middle of the session, we can say we're on line 10 and we're going to give very specific instructions. I'll be sort of the ringleader mentioning what it is that we're doing. Then we will verify, see these expected results, we'll verify that those things happened. And if they didn't, we'll figure out why, and we'll go forward from there. Let's go back to our presentation. All right, so the Friday session is what most of you are going to be focusing on. Here are the participants that we've got. We'll have some who come on site for Friday, off site for Friday as well. And we have a couple vendor experts and a couple test coordinators. Purpose of user testing. We need to verify that the system meets our business requirements. We need to do a little bit of, we'll call it real world testing, playing out scenarios that that we're in every single day. And we have some very hard and fast business scenarios of do this, click this button, did the screen show, was the button there? And we're going to have some activities to talk about deployment training. How does this affect our program design? Alicia Wahardo we'll talk to that along with Alex Rose with respect to the DAT program. What we're not doing during this testing is we're not gathering requirements. So what I mean by that is if you say, oh, well, we need to have this other button here and we need the ability to record videos and share that around on a social network. We're not doing anything like that. We have a firm set of requirements and we're simply testing those requirements. That does not mean, however, that if you have a good idea, we don't want to hear it. That's not true. We want to hear the good ideas and we can capture those for later, but we need to do that in context of our existing requirements. How we're going to test. We'll have a conference line and everybody will be dialed into it, whether it's the phone you're using for a responder portal or ideally you'd have your responder portal phone right in front of your face that you're looking at and testing and using. You'll be getting notifications on it. And if you have another phone, we'd recommend you dial into that. So you've got 2 phones. However, if you only have one, you can dial in and either put in a headset or put your phone on speaker as we go through the test scenarios. And what we'll do is we'll ask, when you're not speaking, we'll ask you to stay on mute so we don't get a ton of background noise because we'll have about a dozen people on the conference line. Now with the scenarios, these are very structured as I showed you. They're going to be steps with expected results that are very specific. We're going to stay together. Everybody will be given a role, as I mentioned, and a specific name, whether you're responder 1 or responder 9. You'll need to remember who you are, and that will not change. So if you started out as responder 4, anytime you hear responder 4, then that's you. So we'll need to pay very close attention to that, or if you hear duty officer, DAT coordinator, remember what your role is. We're going to review the purpose of the scenarios. Why are we doing this event versus that event, or why are we doing it in this way? We're going to verify notifications and expected results. It's simply going to pass or fail. And we'll have comments, so if something is confusing, again, that might be something we need to deal with in training, or maybe something we can deal with down the road. At the end of each scenario, we will regroup and then move on together to the next scenario. And then ultimately, we'll recap our findings. We'll figure out and really focus on some training, and we'll talk about some deployment considerations. For the tools, I mentioned the conference line. We have the iPhone and Android mobile phones that you'll have in your hand with a Responder Portal app downloaded. And I mentioned Alex Rose is working with each of you on that. It's also good to have the Responder Portal URL in your back pocket. If you have a computer next to you, or if you're doing this on a tablet, I know one or two of you will be using tablets. The URL is dat.test.rcview.redcross.org. You're also going to have the business scenarios, whether you want to pull that up on a computer or print those out. It'll be a couple pages. But again, that way you can stay with us and write down on paper if you need to, or follow along on the computer. And then everybody will have the Responder Portal Solution Design document. And that has our functional requirements. So it's, functional requirement 4.3.1, number 1 says a user will be able to log into the system by putting in a username and password, something like that. So that way you too can look along when we say that we're testing a certain requirement or we have an issue. You can verify that within the document. And these are end-to-end scenarios, so we're not just going to stop you halfway through a DAT response. We're going to finish out every response that we start. Everybody will go from being requested to assigned to on-scene to off-scene. On the Friday scenarios, which most of you will be participating in, we're going to focus on shift sign-up, scheduling, acknowledging events, and then capturing information while you're on a response, and then ultimately marking yourself on scene and off scene, so those status updates. If you have a problem, at some point you'll probably get lost, confused. You may need to, take a break, or somebody comes to the door while you're remote, and you need to pause for a second or whatever it is. Ask the group to pause, and if failing that, if you just need to get up for a second, say, hey, where are we again? And I'll say very quickly as the wrangler here, I'll say we're on row 57. If something is not clear, ask me. We will make sure to clarify it for you and clarify it to the group. If it doesn't make sense to you, it probably doesn't make sense to a number of people. And we're going to move forward together. If you've encountered a defect or a system error, and we go through the expected results and say responder 2 and responder 7 were supposed to get a notification and you didn't get one, double check. Maybe you missed it. Make notes of the problem, mention it to the group. We'll confirm the defect. We'll test it. We'll look at it on our end. We'll note it, and then we'll move forward. We also have our some of our Rockstar vendor support. So Evelyn and Simon are going to be with us on the phone. So they'll be following along with us, and they'll have the test scenarios and scripts. A couple challenges that we'll probably run into. The testing of the system is really critical to think about. We're not making sure, we're not trying to perfect a script here. You spelled this wrong, or I would have ordered this in a different way. The scripts are designed to help us get through every single piece of the system. And the reason why we did that is so that we don't miss anything. Because again, time is our friend. That's bullet point number 2. So we'll be moving very quickly, and it's gonna, in some cases, it may feel like we're gonna be robots for a second, but we've just got to move, and we're going to be efficient, and we're going to be streamlined with that. And then, as I mentioned, it could just be a little bit confusing. On the confusion piece, we ask that you bear with us. And if you're confused, ask questions, don't get way behind, because again, everybody has a very specific role. Even if you are not actively testing something, or if your job is to ignore something, or even if your job is to not get a notification, we still need to confirm that you didn't get a notification or that you didn't see anything. So we call that negative testing. And even if you are a negative tester for a certain scenario, we need you to pay attention, and we need everybody to be together and on the same page. So even if it seems like it's a little bit slow and dull, we tried to condense this into a couple hours to really capture everyone's maximum attention. And we'll try not to take too long of breaks in the middle of the sessions. Thank you for listening along with this. Wanted to keep it short and sweet and simple. I hope this video was useful and informative. We figured trying to get a call with everybody on between now and Thursday and Friday was going to be very difficult. So you can watch this again if you need to. If you have any specific questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me. You all should have my email. If not, luke.beckman, luke.beckman @redcross.org. If you have issues with access with your mobile app download, with your username or permissions, feel free to go to Alex Rose, and you all have his email. But with that, hope everybody has a great day. We're looking forward to working with you on this, and looking forward to getting all these scenarios tested. Talk soon.